Hello, this is Grandma Lorie with the Bible story of Joseph and the coat of many colors. What if you had 10 older brothers and they all hated your guts? I mean, really, they wish you were dead and they beat up on you. Let me go back in time and tell you why the 10 older brothers of Joseph, who was just a teenager, hated him with all their hearts. The father of all these men was Jacob, the son of Isaac and the grandson of Abraham. Jacob had married 2 sisters, Rachel and Leah, plus their handmaids. Altogether, they had 11 sons and 1 daughter. Father Jacob was so faithful to God, the Lord changed his name to Israel. And the Lord gave Israel a special promise for his family forever. As long as they loved and obeyed the Lord, he would take care of Israel's family and make them happy. What a deal! All they had to do was obey God and his commandments. But Israel's older sons had a few problems with obedience, as you will see. The whole family lived in Abraham's promised land and prospered there. Israel's most beloved wife, Rachel, was the mother of Israel's favorite son, Joseph, his youngest son. When Joseph was 10 years old, Rachel was finally going to have a second baby. But it was a very, very hard childbirth. The new baby boy lived, but the mother, Rachel, died in childbirth. Her death absolutely broke Father Israel's heart. He sobbed for weeks. Who would take care of the new baby boy? Another woman could nurse the baby, but who would raise him up? 10-year-old Joseph stepped forward. He promised, "I will be the best brother to little baby Benjamin that ever was, and I will always take care of him." And Joseph did. He played with Benjamin constantly, helped him to learn to eat and walk and talk. Benjamin adored Joseph. They were the best brothers ever. There was no question that Father Israel loved those 2 sons of Rachel more than any of his other sons. That was one thing that made his older brothers hate Joseph. But even worse to the brothers was that Joseph loved God and loved the gospel, and was always very upset when his older brothers broke God's most important commandments. When his brothers did something really bad, Joseph went and told their father. For example, one of the neighboring princes hurt their only sister Dinah very badly, so the older brothers killed all the men in that town for vengeance. Killing is the worst sin anyone can do, so Joseph told Father Israel what they had done. Does that mean Joseph was a snitch? A tattletale? A fink? No. When we see something very bad and dangerous, we must tell the people in charge so they can stop the bad thing. Father Israel wanted to know when his older sons were doing really awful things so he could teach them to be better men. But the brothers didn't want to repent and be better men. They thought it was fun to do bad things. So when Joseph told Father about their sins, they beat up Joseph for telling on them. Father Israel knew young Joseph was a very good kid. He said, "Joseph, I'm glad you love the Lord and keep the commandments. I see you study the scriptures and always pray to God. You are full of questions to ask the Lord, and I can see he answers you. I'm so very glad that one of my sons is righteous and wants to know God." Everyone in their huge settlement could see that Israel loved Joseph best. Joseph grew up fast to become big and tall. When he was only a teenager, he was as tall as his brothers. In fact, Israel noticed that Joseph's old coat was way too small for such a big boy. So one special day, Israel gave Joseph a new coat It was gorgeous, made of many bright stripes of colors sewed together with fancy stitching on it. Israel grinned to see his son, so delighted to have a new coat that fit, and a beautiful coat at that. But Joseph's brothers were so jealous, they almost burst. Kind-hearted Joseph was worried about his big brothers. He said to himself, "Not only do my brothers hate me, but they do not want to obey God's commandments. Something horrible is surely going to happen to them someday." Joseph felt so bad about his brothers hating him, he prayed to God to know what to do. And God sent him a very strange dream. It was a bright, colorful, powerful dream, so great that Joseph could not get it out of his mind. So the next day he told his brothers about it. He said, "I dreamed we were all out in the field, tying up the sheaves of wheat. Instead of lying on the ground like sheaves do, my sheaves stood up straight and tall. Then all your sheaves gathered around and bowed down to my sheaf. I wonder what that means." One brother said, "Oh, really, you stupid dreamer?" He smacked Joseph on the head. "You think this dream means we are going to bow down to you as if you were our ruler? Ha! I'd die first." Another of his brothers pushed him over accidentally on purpose as he left the tent. It sure didn't seem like they would ever be kind to him, much less gather around Joseph, except to beat him up for telling on them. They thought he was just an idiot boy who was always so goody-goody. They wanted to throw up. How could their father think he was the best boy in the entire universe? Ugh! Things were just calming down when Joseph, still worried, prayed to the Lord to know what he should do about their hatred and mistreatment. The Lord sent him another powerful dream, the kind of dream that makes you wake right up, amazed and wide-eyed, and you can't forget the dream. Maybe Joseph was too young and truthful to know when to keep his mouth shut. Or maybe the Lord wanted Joseph to tell everyone about his new dream. The Spirit of the Lord kept urging him to tell his family. So Joseph waited until his father and mother Leah were there the next day. He would tell the whole family his dream at once. His fathers would stop his brothers if they tried to beat him up. He began to tell his story to the family. "I had another dream," he said, a little hesitantly. One of his brothers snorted rudely. "Ha! All right, this time we're going to give you all our gold and jewels." The other brothers laughed, and one of them threw a soft fruit that splattered on Joseph. Hurt by the laughter, Joseph said, "No, in this dream I was just standing on a hill in the evening when the sun and the moon and 11 stars came down out of the sky. They all bowed down low before me." Joseph's father Israel gasped and looked at his son angrily. "What are you saying, Joseph? Are you out of your mind? Now you dream that not only your brothers, but your mothers and I are going to bow down and worship you? This is insulting. Get out of this tent right now. I don't want to hear any more from you about dreams. Do you understand?" Joseph jumped up and left the tent, trying hard to hold back his tears. His father had never yelled at him before. He hadn't done anything wrong except have a strange dream and tell the truth about it. It felt like an important dream. He thought at least Father would understand. Father had dreamed sacred dreams before, too. His brothers shouted out with fury, "Father, this is what you get for spoiling Joseph and giving him that fancy coat." They were more angry than ever, and you know what those brothers could do when they got really mad. But strangely, over the next day or two, Father Israel thought about Joseph's dream. "Joseph has never been a proud boy looking for fame or glory, and he's never told a lie, never. In fact, he is the kindest, most considerate boy in the whole family. Could the Lord have actually been trying to send a message to the rest of us? Israel shook his head and went back to his account books. His brothers thought about Joseph's dream too, but the more they thought and talked, the angrier they got, until their tempers were blazing and they were trying to think of some way to get rid of Joseph permanently. Seeing their fury, Israel thought it would be a good idea to get his older sons away from home for a while so they could cool off. He sent them with a huge herd of sheep to Shechem, where there was fresh new grass. After a few weeks, Israel felt sorry for how sad Joseph looked as he slouched around their huge settlement, doing his jobs as usual, but never smiling. Israel's heart was touched for his dearest son. "Joseph," he called. His big boy came over looking at the ground. "Joseph, I'm sorry I yelled at you. Who am I to question dreams? Let's just forget it, all right? I have always loved you, and I will never stop, Joseph." Father Israel hoped that by now his older sons had given up being so angry at Joseph. "You know, Joseph, we haven't heard from your brothers in weeks. I'd like you to take them a basket of food and some messages from their families. Go to Shechem. Also, here's a little bag of money in case they need supplies. I know it will take you several days, but I trust you. See if they're all right, and if the flocks are doing well, then come back and bring me word." "All right, Father, I'll do whatever you say." Israel thought, "Yes, that's my good son Joseph, always eager and obedient. How I love that boy." But when Joseph got to the pastures of Shechem, there were no sheep nor brothers to be seen. Joseph wandered uphill and down ravine, searching in the distance. Finally, a man told them his brothers had gone toward Dothan, so Joseph walked in that direction. Long before Joseph arrived at his brother's sheep camp, the brothers saw his brightly colored coat coming from far off. One of them grumbled, "Here comes the tattletale dreamer who thinks we should worship him." "So help me," said another son, "if I have to hear one more word out of his mouth, I swear I'll kill him." Several other brothers agreed. "Yes, we should kill him. The world will be a better place for his leaving it." "I'll be glad for certain. I've had it with him in his fantasy dreams." The brothers plotted ways they could kill Joseph. When the oldest brother, Reuben, heard their plans, he said, "Are you guys crazy? We can't just kill him. But we can get rid of him. Look, here's a dry well somebody dug. Let's throw him in it. If he starves to death, it won't be our fault." Secretly, Reuben knew how much his father loved Joseph and that the death of Joseph would kill their father. So Reuben planned to sneak back at night, pull Joseph out of the well, and send him running home. The brothers nodded at the plan. Just as Joseph arrived and called out, "Brothers," said Joseph, smiling. He lifted a large full basket. "I've brought food and messages from—" What? Wait, what are you doing to me?" The brothers grabbed Joseph, scuffling and pulling off his coat. Joseph fought back, landing some good blows, but there were too many and they were too strong for him. They dragged him to the well, and with a push, they sent him tumbling to the bottom. It was deep. Joseph cried out, "What are you doing? Let me out, brothers! This is not funny. Come on!" But they laughed at him. "Good riddance, Joseph. We hope you rot down there." Reuben had left them earlier to check on an injured sheep. The other brothers sat down nearby and ate their dinner, laughing and talking about how great life would be without Joseph around to irritate them. "Hey, look!" cried Judah, pointing to the desert road a short distance away. "It's a caravan of Ishmaelite traders heading down to Egypt." Simeon grumbled. "So what? They can't hear Joseph yell." Judah replied, No, no, we don't care if they hear him. He is an escaped slave, don't you know? Let's sell him. What good does it do us if we either kill him or let him die in the well? If we sell him, he'll be too far away to ever come back, and we will be richer. He's big and strong, good with accounting, too. They'll pay us a fortune for such a good, educated slave. Oh, we could never kill our own dear sweet brother, could we?" He grinned. The brothers laughed wickedly. They dragged Joseph out of the pit, tied up his arms, and sold him to the slave caravan. Joseph kicked, screamed, and protested all the way. The Midianite traders didn't believe a word Joseph yelled about being a free man. They just gave over 20 pieces of silver to Joseph's brothers. Incidentally, that has been estimated to be about $200 in today's money. Not bad for unexpected cash. After the brothers had rolled up in their blankets and gone to sleep, Reuben, the oldest brother, came back from the pastures. He planned to pull Joseph out of the well, but the well was empty. "No!" he yelled. "What have you done with Joseph?" He kicked his brothers awake. "What are we going to do when Father finds out?" "Take it easy," yelled Dan, pushing Reuben. "We sold him down to Egypt, okay? Look at all the money we got. We each get a share, and we didn't kill him. We aren't guilty." Naphtali spoke up. "We have his coat. Let's kill a baby goat and get blood all over the coat. We can tell Father that Joseph was attacked and eaten by a lion. He'll believe us." Reuben groaned. "I hated Joseph too, but this will give our father a stroke or a heart attack for sure." "As if you cared," sneered Asher. Judah raised his hands. "Everybody calm down. Naphtali's right. The coat will be perfect evidence. Somebody get that crippled goat that can never keep up. We'll use its blood on Joseph's coat and then roast its carcass to eat on the way home." And so it was done. They arrived home looking grieved but uncertain. "Father," said Reuben, with the others gathered around, we found this coat near a lion's den in the hills. We aren't sure, but can you identify this coat?" Israel recognized the coat at once and grasped the coat, blood and all. "No," he howled. "It's my Joseph's coat. He's been killed by a beast and he's dead. Torn apart, my Joseph." Israel wept and sobbed for days. He didn't die, but he wanted to. All his sons and their wives tried to comfort Israel, but he mourned and grieved, declaring he would go to his grave weeping for his most beloved son. But Joseph? What was happening to Joseph? Poor Joseph, only 17 years old, and once the favorite son of the richest man in Canaan. Young Joseph trudged through the heat and sand of the desert, his hands tied together and his neck attached to a camel by a long rope, going to Egypt to be a slave. Had God abandoned him? Why? Why did God let this happen to him when he had always been so good and faithful? When they arrived in Egypt, Joseph was taken to the slave market, tied to a stake by a rope around his neck, practically naked. He missed his father. He was terrified. Poor Joseph. He wished he was dead. Join me again to find out what happens to Joseph. See you next time.